Can you guys hear me if I stand up here pretty close? Okay. And Mr. Monk, if you want to sit so you can see these exhibits as well, you may want
You might want to, Mr. Chairman, you might want to, for the tape, identify what committee and what time and all that it
It
is.
is 4:09. This is Fire and Water Committee, and I turn the meeting over to Town Manager.
Chairman Scott and I had an opportunity to visit with a lady named Ann Williams in regards to a sewer line. And that sewer line would be associated with the development of multifamily development that was rezoned for Frankie Williamson back, I don't know, a year or so ago. And Frankie's property abuts Lester Street, okay? So Frankie has been working on the sewer line, and I think he can get some of his buildings into the sewer line on Lester Street, and he can always pump. He's got ample opportunity, he can build pumps and do all kinds of stuff. So the sewer is already accessible for Frankie.
I'm sorry. He's already purchased the land and we've already zoned. Everything's cool. All right, thanks. Go ahead.
So he spoke to me, and I told him it is vastly preferable for you to run this by gravity flow rather than pump all these buildings. Now, he can pump. No problem. He had Maxie Hines, which is his engineer, come up with two routes to go through here. The first of which, you can see, here's his development. This is the undeveloped portion of Powell Street. And this is Miss Williams' house. Okay? He would build sewer going around and staying on an adjacent property owner named Vera Lee Trent. Okay? That's one option. A second option would involve Miss Williams, because the line would, instead of making turns, it would just go straight from his development straight to our East Street pump station. Okay? Upon completion of this construction, our ordinance does say that the town will accept for maintenance that which is built to the town specifications, okay? Because we want it to be a public sewer so other people can access it. If it's a private sewer, then Frankie has the ability to say, yep, we want the development, or no, we don't want the development, all that sort of thing. So the town is not obligated. I think council has to vote, and that's part of why we're setting the table here, to accept the sewer and accept the easement that it would be in, okay? I've met with Ann Williams briefly, and I caught her one evening, and I don't know if she's all that crazy about it. We gave her card to her, call us, and all those kinds of things. I just haven't heard back from her. I just haven't heard back. And we showed her the drawings and all that kind of stuff.
If you run that through the middle of the property, won't that decrease the potential of developing that property?
Well, there's no potential to develop it with no sewer.
Well, I understand that, but I mean,
The sewer's only 20 feet wide.
does she have to consent for the town to go through there?
I am not recommending any condemnation, nothing like that. That is not for the town's role.
You don't have to consent, so if you want to run a sewer line through there, you can just run it through there?
No,
No.
we gotta get our
Oh,
permission.
We're saying we have to have acquiescence from all the property owners, because this is not a role for the county to condemn. This is Frankie's show. We're involved because ultimately the town will receive the sewer, and the easement should be made between the property owners adjacent and the town of Blackstone.
Okay, so whose property are you infringing on?
Ms. Williams.
On this,
On the, no, that's not,
would be
gonna-
Ms. Williams.
that dog ain't gonna hunt.
It's
If
a
she
better
doesn't
way,
wa-
but nonetheless.
If she doesn't wanna go through the middle of a property,
She hasn't said yes or no, but I'm not getting a response from her, so
Okay.
that, we're taking that as a de facto and crazy.
so this one, whose property are you,
Vera Lee Trent.
is she okay with it?
Spoke with her and met with her last Friday, provided her a copy of the drawings and the draft of the easement document. She has a son that's kind of held her. She's moved away to Richmond, and her son Joseph Gaffney Trent is helping her. Hey, Mr.
This way you gonna be right here? That good?
Okay. Any of the cost of construction is Frankie's.
Right.
Any of the cost of the easement is Frankie's.
Did you say she was all right with it? I'm sorry, I was helping Mr. Tucker.
They were not definitive, but I think that they come to the table and sit. I have not just been able to get Andy to meet them.
Okay.
Okay? That's what we're doing. But there is a role for the town, because we're gonna have to give them permission to put, we're one of the property owners, because this is Powell Street. They're gonna have to run a sewer line up Powell Street.
There's no line there now.
No, and it's undeveloped, it's just woods.
Okay.
Town property, Vera Lee Trent. Town property would have to go to us, we'd have to accept the sewer line dedicated to the town from permanent easement, and accept the easement in the town's name. So there
There's
is
no downside to that if it's done to your specs, is it?
No, I mean, I don't see a downside to it. What I don't like is, I don't like the depth of it. Not that it's incorrectly done, but they're gonna have to have some manholes that are 9 feet deep.
Wow.
Whereas, the route across Miss Williams, they're much shallower. Okay? About a
But if
third,
the lady
about
doesn't
6
want
feet.
manholes in the property, I don't wanna force it on her.
You're not, I'm not asking.
Okay,
If they're agreeable to it,
okay.
then go.
What's in it for her?
Money,
How much money?
I don't know, that's between her and Frankie.
Gotcha.
Alright? But Frankie is gonna have to manage that situation with the money. Am I helping talk to both parties? Sure.
All
I like
right,
Miss Trent very much, she's very nice, she lives right over here on Southwest Avenue, Virginia.
Okay.
That's what she meant to.
well, my question is, if both of them say, I'm not gonna work with you, then what's he gotta do, pump it?
Frankie will have to pump it.
Where would he pump it to? Down the
Lester
street?
Lester Street?
Down the street,
Lester Street,
okay, which is a good ways off, isn't it?
yeah,
Right in front.
much shorter, cheaper.
Okay.
But he doesn't like to pump, and I don't want him to pump. Pumping is no good, nothing good comes.
I understand that, I used to sell sewage
pumps,
pumps,
no
I understand,
Good.
I understand,
The best thing to do is to build a gravity line.
sure.
For Frankie purposes, the one across Miss Williams is less expensive because it's a straight shot and it's shallower. Okay?
Do you need anything from us, or you just giving us some information?
I
or-
think it's more information at this point, but I am gonna have to bring to the full council easement, maintenance, all those kinds of things. Okay? It'll be, so for your purposes, this is the apartment project that Frankie Williamson had rezoned. I think it's 17 again, 17 or 16. He came to us for a piece of property on Lester Street, next to Miss Hardaway's house, that open field, and got it rezoned. Well, he looked at it, he's had his engineers do all their stuff, and he can gravity float all the property, or he can build pumps and go back to Lester Street. So his engineers have come back and given a couple of options to get sewer to it, that he would have to pay for and build, but he's got to cross his neighbor's property. This layout crosses the town on Powell Street and Verily Trent. Okay?
Where really Trent at?
It would drop right into East Street.
East Street.
You know where the pump station is at East Street? There's a small pump station
Okay,
over there, there's a
alright,
manhole
okay.
right in front
Right
of
in
it.
front of her mama's, where mama's house was.
Okay, all right,
Right, yeah, the one that we burned down right here.
okay.
And it would be just right across the street from that, or just down a little bit. There's a second option that goes through Miss Williams's property, okay? Miss Williams hadn't said no, she just hadn't said anything. I'll let you know, and I just don't have an answer back, okay? But before people ask you, why is the town involved in this? The town's involved for three things. One, Powell Street belongs to the town, the town's gonna have to grant access to its property. Two, the town is to take the sewer line after constructed and inspected and engineers approve it and all that. The sewer line becomes the property of the town, okay? And three, you guys will have to accept an easement with a sewer line in it to effectuate all that to happen, okay? So I don't have anything to vote on right now, but before you get a call from Annie Williams or her son, or what's going on, this is what's going on. All right? And her son is Gerald. He's pretty cool about it. He said, I'll talk to my mom, but I haven't heard anything back. Okay?
All right,
So we'll find out. Item number 2, tap fees.
That be the water treatment capacity.
Same thing. Tap fees and water treatment are together. If you
Okay.
guys read this letter, and I'll give you the history on this thing a little bit. Have you got your package in front of you yet? There you go. Here's the deal. If you remember, in 2013 or so, we had a get-together meeting with the county and its laws. Were you on council then? You may have been on council, because I think Richard was either going out or something, but Richard Eden came. So, if y'all remember, we met with the county over the sewer capacity for Fast C. Okay? If you read that letter, I think it references $425,000. Actually, this letter from the mayor, I think, went in 2015. Okay? Not as long as I thought. But if you remember, we had told the county, oh, 80,000 gallons of flow from Fast C is gonna put us over our 500,000 gallons. Well, we didn't know that. Well, yeah, the county knew that. And it had never been an issue before, but we got a 2 million gallon a day plant, we get 500,000 gallons, including Fast C. 1.5 is reserved for garden. That letter was sent by the mayor requesting an additional 250,000 gallons to the town. They responded, and I can get you the letter, I probably should have gotten the ladies to put that letter. Their response was, okay, we'll give you the flow and it's available. However, we want you to change our billing structure to treat us as an in-town customer, not the 50% increase or the additional, okay? And when you bill us, we only want to pay for sewage flow equivalent to that which we buy in water. Okay? And it was several $100,000 annually that we would lose based on that calculation, okay? No good. So, if you remember the Fast C tap fee issue. Remember when Fast C came to us? And we calculated up their tap fees, it was like $350,000, $320-some thousand they were gonna pay us. And then I went back to them and I said, this is really stupid because you're putting in these meters that don't need to be so big. And everything tap fee wise is based on meter. They had 2-inch meters to serve a spigot. Well, that was like a $12,000 tap fee if there had been sewer. It was like $6,400 tap fee just to hook up a yard spigot. It was horribly designed. They went back and reduced, and it ended up being basically a wash. What we did with Fast C was, and if you remember that chart we put together, it had every building that was connected in the Fast C property, they got a credit for. If there was a 1-inch line already going to one of Joe's buildings, or Southside Electric hit a shop out there and that were eliminated, those are the ones that they got credit for, okay? What we do with Pickett, what we've been doing with Pickett, is every structure that was in place when the system was given to us, based on the 1988 mapping, when the town received the system, okay, they get a credit for a tap. So we're constantly going back and forth, and does this have a tap fee or not a tap fee? And I've had to hold up Ed Brown several times on construction projects, and what they're trying to do then is, and I think it's probably a poor idea of their part, to get the tap fees down. They're still designing 2-inch connections, but instead of 2-inch connections, they're doing 3/4-inch connections to reduce the tap fees down. It's just a circus, okay? And I told Michael Allner, I said, and he requested the same tap fee schedule that Fast C got. Michael doesn't understand or missed something. If we did that, it would penalize Pickett, okay? Because these are the buildings that were in '88. Remember, the buildings that Fast C got credit for were the only ones that were existing and standing, okay? So we got that killed finally, and Michael was going in a bad direction. So we met with the Colonel, Grafley, the new fellow out there, and Michael and Andre and Dan, and we took the whole group out here. And here's what I would like to do. I can't give you a dollar figure of what all these tap fee values are because I don't know what they're going to build, okay? And you can see how many buildings were out there in 1988. What I would like to do is work out with the National Guard. We keep the schedule for the per gallon cost down because we can't take that hit. That's money out of pocket. But what we can do is eliminate tap fees at Fort Pickett for valid buildings that don't have meters. In exchange, get the 250,000 gallons.
Are you in favor of doing that?
I think they're listening.
I think he's asking us, so he don't wanna get out there and make a promise that he can't keep.
The last tap fee thing really, whoa, how could you? And I think there was intention to use the money for something else, but it actually worked to the town's benefit long term because that money that would have been used for capital projects or anticipated projects, but we don't get those 8-inch meters and we don't have the 3-inch meter. You know, those are really expensive to replace and own and all that sort of thing. Andre's constantly going to have to be fixing. The tap fee business is no good business because every project's different. Well, we want to transfer the tap to this building and use it at the airport. And it's a little circus. All right. And to tell you the truth, I would prefer to sit back and say, give us 250,000 gallons. We don't have to spend a penny.
And not
to
take
construct anything.
$300,000 out of the coffers either.
And then we quit this fiasco about trying to figure out where the tap fees and what buildings connect and all that kind of stuff.
Mr. Chairman, sounds reasonable to me.
Doesn't mean. Ms. Scott?
Yeah.
Somebody like to give a motion?
I'll be glad to, I move that we recommend the council to endorse the town manager's proposal of exchanging, the 250,000 gallons of capacity, for eliminating tap fees in the Fort Pickett impound.
Specifically to Fort Pickett, not to Arbor Tech, not
Right.
to Fast C, but
Right.
Fort Pickett.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Tucker. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. That's gonna certainly get the conversation going. We'll make sure that the term.
Hmm?
Are we adjourned?
I've got a couple little things if we can very
Yeah.
quickly, just so you know. We have a wastewater and water plant and pump station improvement project that we funded in 2016.
I remember.
It's out to bid right now.
Okay.
The top of the reservoir at the Courthouse Road Pump Station, Forest Drive Pump Station, Rocky Bump Pump Station. We're putting the chain hoists in. The money's already been borrowed, and I think we've made 2 principal payments on that thing in 17 and in 18.
And we baked it into the rates, right?
The rates are covering it already,
Okay.
but the work is out to bid. I anticipate those bids being awarded by the town council, I hope, at the June meeting, okay? Then we can move on. There's gonna be a second project, and what we're anticipating doing with the second project is all the line work. Like the line going from the bowling alley to the main gate, East End, Amelia Avenue, all that, and lump it into one line work project, okay? And disconnect the water tank, the concrete tank down here. I anticipate that probably still being another month or 2 on that before we put that out.
What kind of project, what kind of scope on that project?
If we did everything we anticipated in the East End, with drainage, water, sewer, including the state's funds, 2-2.
Where are you gonna get that from? Rates?
We're getting ready to bring to you a $1.5 million bank deal. Finance committee will get that on the, we got the proposals in.
Okay.
That's $1.5 million.
We meet Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. We've already saved up about $175,000 or $200,000. We may not be able to do that on Amelia Avenue. We may need to move it. And the water line from the bowling alley out, so we funded in.
So this money that's gonna come before account and finance, that's what that was in case we got the grant and all this kind of stuff. So you got out in front of it.
We gotta do the water and sewer no matter what.
All right, and is
No matter what.
Mr. Cooch gonna make recommendations on how to fund it? Okay.
Now, here's how we're gonna fund it. You've already done a 3% rate increase last year, okay? If you look at our proposals, we have a 2-year interest-only note, okay? We don't make a principal payment until 2020, May of 2020, okay? For 2 years, all we do is interest. All right? What else happens in 2019?
The bonds core.
Well, that.
And you
But we
got
also
a, you got
pay
a
off
bond
some-
payment going
we
off of
pay off
us.
one of our, it's a relatively small bond, I don't know, it's probably
It's 57?
$60,000 a
Yeah.
year, but that can be applied to it, plus the 3%, okay? And we have a no penalty clause for prepayment.
In this new loan that we're,
Our plan is to finish our reserve fund in October of 19. It's gonna be close. She's gonna be close, all right? The money that we've been putting to reserve, we can then apply towards this. I hope to pay off the East End project in about 3 or 4 years. Poof, do away with it.
all right.
Because it's high interest. We've been borrowing money cheap over the years. The highest interest thing we had was a fixed 20-year for 3%. Unheard of. Now we're getting a 20-year AM with a 10-year reset for 4.5%.
Yeah, money's going up.
The rates have gone up a bunch. So this is the project you want to
That's why these reserves are even more important.
The reserves are essential. I know it's unpopular and all these kinds of things, but it is allowing us to have flexibility that we can do some stuff.
We
Okay?
just need to, what needs to be, what we need to understand is if we get the money in advance, we're not paying the 4%. Okay, so I'd rather rates go up 2% now instead of going up 4% every time we need something done.
My plan, and remember, we've got construction process. My plan is if we need to increase rates when the principal comes on, then we'll have to come back to it, but not do it now. Come back in 2 years and say, Phil's looked at everything we've got and the monies, and we need 2% more to pay off this East End. I'm not asking for a rate increase this year. I want to get further down the road and see what our cash position and see how much we can pay off of that.
Sounds good to me.
All right? The 3 that we've already got, okay? And committing any retired debt that we've been paying and put that onto the payment of East End. So we've saved, $177,000. And then we've got the bond issue that we've got going on, plus the line going out at Pickett is already included in this money that we borrowed for the treatment plant work. Okay? Will it work out perfect? I don't know. We'll see in a couple of years of cash flow. How's it flowing? And we'll take it. And if we need, come back to council and say I need 1%, 2%, I'll say that. If I don't need it and I can make it work, I'll tell them I can make it work. But at this point, I don't need it because we got the 2-year interest only that we can make.
Gotcha.
All right. Those are our water and sewer projects that we got going on. Fast C, we are working on a little project with Fast C, and Fast C's out there furiously putting storm sewer pipe in and doing things, and they found a really bad sewer line that we have that was given to the town by the federal government back in 99 or 2000 in Lincoln, and they had to cross it with a storm sewer underneath it. Alright? So they're going to replace that section of storm sewer, or section of sewer, so it's not a big section, 200 feet, so that'll be replaced. So you know, if you saw a bunch of equipment on Oak Street behind my mother-in-law's house,
I knew about it.
nothing free going on here.
Yeah, I know about it too.
You know, all right, here's what happens, Mr. Tucker, and the World Wide Web will know. Last fall, or last summer, when they put the new storm sewers in Main Street, they cut my mother-in-law's sewer service.
All the way out.
Oh well, and packed it back and paved it, and it's pretty. Well, she'd been in Florida for a little while, and she came back and she said, this thing's backing out, there's a problem. So we went down there and looked, and lo and behold, with the contractor, he came out, Airbnb, not only was her house cut off, but B and Dick Allison's old house. I don't know what you call it now, but the White House next door got the pretty feature on the front porch.
Yeah, I know.
Both of them were on one line going out. Boom. That house is empty, and that's why nobody had a problem.
Ain't nobody in there now?
Nobody-
That's been for
For sale.
sale.
Been
Huh?
listed for a
For
long time.
sale.
Yeah.
I know. He
So
died, didn't he?
the Allisons are dead, but I think it's been sold since they're demise. So when looking at options, digging up Main Street didn't appeal. And digging up Main Street and the contractor and the engineer both being of the opinion, we're not sure we can get to the sewer line because the new storm sewer we think is in the way. So I made the decision to go to Oak Street. All right? Made a mess, and of course it was muddy and all the above things. Instead of both lines going together, our ordinance called for separate lines. In an emergency, I'd still do what I had to do, but my mother-in-law, Sharon, said, I would want my line on my property. I don't want you putting it on them, because it would have been easier to go on their side, because her flower beds and fences and all that kind of stuff. Well, we ended up doing it running two. The town of Blackstone is paying for the one at the Allison's house. The one at my mother-in-law's house is the engineers and the contractors are paying for that one. I even got the town involved because I made the decision to run two, okay? Separate it, based on town code, and my mother-in-law didn't want their sewer line on her, and she didn't want her, even though it was like that, and she didn't know that. So they paid for one and we paid for one.
He asked me about it.
You didn't do that one.
Yeah.
So heads up, and I did not want to dig up Main Street and make a mockery out of, there they go again. Just put the new pavement down, it's the prettiest road in town, and then digging it back up.
Turn on Main Street.
Heads up, and with that, Mr. Chairman, I don't have anything else.
All right, anything from the committee?
I don't think so.
Meeting adjourned at 4:32.
All right.